Hello, children. So, our topic for today is the positive symptoms. Very important because this is, of course, one of the major symptoms for schizophrenia, as we've already discussed about. That there are three categories under the symptoms. We have the positive symptoms, we have the negative symptoms, and we have the psychomotor. So, to start with, the first one is your positive symptoms. Under that, we have the three kinds. We have the delusions, then we also have the next one is your formal thought, and then the third one is your hallucinations. So, very, very interesting. And we're going to be discussing these three in parts. And to start with, or in order to begin with, we have the delusions, which are the very first one. And so, firstly, to understand what are these positive symptoms, so these are basically, you can say, pathological excesses, or you can say they are very, in a way, bizarre, weird additions. And the additions are mostly, or you can say the excesses are mostly seen in terms of the person's behavior, in terms of the person's delusions, or so to say, the disorganized thinking, and even in terms of his or her speech, and the perception is also, it goes on to another level. It's extremely heightened, and also the person, hallucinates, where we also have various conditions under hallucinations, which we will be discussing later. And of course, and even the inappropriate effects that you generally are witnessed, and now when we come down to the delusions, which are the very first type, or you can say the condition under the positive symptoms, so delusion, if in just three words we have to understand what delusion it actually means, a false belief, and this false belief, it is not having any adequate or definite reasons, or so to say adequate grounds on which it is basically projected or held, so the false belief is actually held very firmly, very strongly on inadequate grounds, and they will never be, in a way, affected by the rational argument, and they do not have any basis in terms of the realities of life, and that belief which a person holds, it could be an altered reality, and it does not, in a way, have any kind of evidence, and it does not really have any agreement to the contrary, and so basically it's a false belief which is held by a person on inadequate grounds, and it does not even have a basis of reality. And we also have certain kinds of delusions, we do have certain types, which of course we'll be discussing. So we have the delusions of persecution, which is the very first one. And it actually talks about how people who are battling this delusion of persecutions, they start believing that people are plotting against them, and people are trying to spy, or they're being spied, and also being slandered for that matter. And it's quite common in schizophrenia to actually battle with such kind of delusions. And also, where, in the similar type, which is the delusion of persecution, people are also feeling very, this they have this feeling of being threatened, they have this feeling of being constantly attacked, or they also feel that they are being victimized, they are like, they feel, they are the ones who are being constantly targeted, so to say. So people are in this constant worry of being attacked, of being plotted, of being spied, of being slandered, of being, victimized, even threatened. So, yes, people do have this delusion of persecution. But again, we don't really have an evidence to it. We don't really have any basis in terms of the realities of life. And it's all very delusional. It's how the people is perceiving his or her situation, but as such nothing like that actually exists, and people actually start believing like that, and when we talk about delusion of reference, people who are battling this kind of delusion, they attach special and quite personal meaning to the actions of others, and to even the events that have been kind of taking place. So they feel that whatever the person is doing, whatever is happening, it is keeping in mind this particular person, you know so it's all been done deliberately, so all of this is happening because what so and so needs to be done to this particular person, and this is how we need to kind of harm a person, or we need to kind of attack this person. So because we need to do this, so that is why such events or such actions are being done by that particular person or other people. So basically this person who's battling the delusion of reference tries to feel that whatever is happening around him or her, it is happening keeping him, the person who's battling, keeping him in mind. So even in terms of the actions of other people, the situations, the events, all of that is happening keeping him in mind, or keep making him the center, for everything. So he actually feels that he starts in a way attaching all of this in a way to himself or herself, drawing a personal meaning out of it, a special meaning out of it. Then we have the delusion of grandeur, which is people start feeling or believing that they are especially empowered. So they start thinking highly of themselves. That they are at a certain position, and they're quite powerful. So they actually start considering themselves to be at that kind of position, extremely empowered, and delusion of control, people start feeling that their feelings, their thoughts and their actions are being controlled by other person. So they feel that this is not what I want to do, this is not what I want to think, this is not how I want to basically feel, but there is somebody else who's taking control of me as a person. So this is how they start feeling when they are battling delusion of control. But again, there is no evidence, there is no basis to it in the realities of life. Person only is actually having a heightened perception. This is how he feels, this is how he thinks. This is not true, this is not the reality, but this is how the person feels. So this was all about the delusions, and we'll be taking up the next topic in the next video audio. Thank you so much.